Welcome to the Thrive TV Show with Lauren Parsons, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Thrive TV Show. My name is Lauren Parsons, Wellbeing Specialist from New Zealand, and today I'm joined by Michelle Segar, who is an expert in sustainable behaviour change, all the way from Michigan in the US. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. So today we're talking about no sweat, the simple science of motivation, and particularly we're going to talk about motivation to exercise, to stay healthy and well, and to take time to care for you. So Michelle's going to explain to us why sticking to exercise is so challenging and what you can easily do to turn this around, why appreciating your own self-care is essential for regular exercise, and also what the research says about self-compassion and being more motivating than negative self-judgment. So I look forward to hearing all of that, Michelle. Before we dive into that though, I want to ask you some this and that questions. So are you ready for a quick fire round?
I am.
Okay, so tell me, cats or dogs?
Puppies.
Puppies? Oh, that's nice. Introvert or extrovert?
Probably extrovert, but a mix.
Okay, a mix, yeah. I think we're all a bit of a mix, aren't we? Logical or creative?
I don't know. Hopefully a mix.
Okay. The beach or a mountaintop?
Mountaintop.
Nice. Eggs boiled or fried?
I love both of them. I would have to say fried.
Okay, nice. Singing or dancing?
Dancing.
Nice. Fresh salad or hot vegetables?
I don't know, salad.
Salad, okay.
Wait, both. Your questions are really hard because
it'll get easier as we go along. Okay, and lastly, popular pre-made travel tour or build your own itinerary?
build your own.
Build your own, nice. Okay. So Dr. Michelle Segar is the best-selling author of No Sweat and Sustainable Behaviour Change scientist. She directs the University of Michigan's Sport Health and Activity Research and Policy Center. She's translated science into sustainable behaviour change messages and programming for decades and is recognised as a pioneer and leading authority in this field. Her comprehensive, science-based and tailored approach to creating sustainable behaviour change related to healthy lifestyles and well-being has made her a sought-after speaker, trainer and consultant for global organisations seeking to accelerate and sustain positive change. So I'm so thrilled that you are connecting with me today, Michelle. So tell me, first of all, how is it that you started doing what it is that you're doing now?
Well, first of all, thanks for that introduction and for inviting me to be a part of your community. I got started in this topic when I was getting my first master's degree, and we were conducting a randomized trial with cancer survivors, and our original research question was really focused on, does exercise work in terms of helping people feel better, helping them become less depressed, less anxious? That was what we set out to do through this very rigorous design. And we found out that exercise did do those things. But part of our study design was to call everyone back and do focus groups and conduct qualitative research. And I remember the participants, the cancer survivors, sitting around talking, smiling about exercise. I guess one thing to note is that these weren't, for the most part, these weren't active patients. They were about 4 to 5 years after they had recovered and they were living normal lives. And so I thought that maybe people were still exercising. They were smiling, talking about it. We knew that it had helped with depression and anxiety. But I found out that almost no one was exercising anymore. Mm-hmm. Once our study had ended, they had stopped exercising. So I asked people, well, why did you stop? And they said, I'm too busy. I've got to work. I've got a family. And what became, it was interesting because I was in my 20s then, but what became very clear to me was that these people had stopped exercising, not because they were cancer survivors, but because they were simply busy adults bogged down by everything that we all are bogged down by. And I thought, wow, if people who face a life-threatening illness don't feel comfortable making sure their own self-care is a priority, then we have a real problem in society. And I used to think it was just a problem in the United States, but now I know it's not just a problem in the United States, that it's really a problem all over the world. And that is how I got started, because I decided this is my problem and I'm going to solve it. So that's what's driven me for the last 25 plus years.
Wow. And so with your experience, what is it that you've seen that makes it so tough for people to stick with exercise?
Well, there's a couple of big pathways. One is a motivation pathway. And that pathway is, well, I'm not motivated. That's what people say. Why don't you exercise? There's two big reasons. People say, I'm not motivated, or I don't have time.
I don't have time.
I don't have time, right? And the motivation pathway, when you just dig behind it, what it is mostly about is simply that people don't like to exercise. Now, that's not going to surprise any of your listeners. It's kind of like a duh, yeah, I don't like to exercise. But it's because of the way we've been taught to exercise. People don't like to exercise because as a culture, and even to some extent as a world, although there are, variations within different cultures, we've been taught that physical activity is primarily to boost our health and to lose weight and sculpt our bodies. And research shows that those reasons for exercising make you exercise in ways that you don't like, or it just makes it a meh. And so you don't do it. And that's what's behind I'm not motivated. So that, the motivation pathway ultimately begins with our culture has taught us that there are very specific medicalized aesthetic reasons to exercise, which is bad enough from a motivation perspective, but it gets worse because those reasons tend to make people think or tend to believe that to exercise right, they have to exercise vigorously, they have to go to the gym, they have to sweat. And research shows that that type of exercise really reduces pleasure and increases displeasure. And so, i.e., it equals low motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so prevalent, that no pain, no gain mentality, that people feel like they put exercise into this box where they think of it in such a negative light that it becomes a chore. And I know that you have this mindset flip between exercise being a chore and being a gift. So can you explain that to us?
Sure. So exercise, what I just described earlier in terms of why people are not motivated, all those reasons, body shaping reasons, disease prevention reasons, exercising in ways that don't feel good, that might even hurt in some cases, that turns it into a chore. So the chore concept really came out of talking to people and doing my own research and doing my own lifestyle coaching with people and understanding it's not just this, I'm not motivated, it's that this feels like a chore. And I don't have time in my life nor energy to push through a chore every day or consistently. So that's the chore explanation. The gift explanation, which is the polar opposite of chore, if you will, is, no one, to a great extent, people don't like to do chores. That, that's inherent. It's kind of drudgery or things we're supposed to do but don't want to do. But who doesn't want a gift, right? Who doesn't want to be given a gift? So the alternative to chore is when we do a behavior like exercise, because we know it helps us feel better, because we're doing it in a way that we chose to do, not because we think we're supposed to do it this way, but because we chose as people to do it this way, because either it's with people we enjoy, it's in a place we love, it's activity that actually we enjoy, and or all of the above, that turns it into a gift. And so we shift out of the want should paradigm into the, is this a chore that I have to do, or is this really a gift that I want to give myself?
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I think that the more people that are listening in can picture that. Like just now I had to run out to my outdoor office and run back in, and I thought of you and I thought, wow, this is such a gift. It's a beautiful sunny day. I get to get my heart rate up for a moment. And I did literally think, wow, this is such a cool gift. And I think it's just such a small, it's a tiny little mindset shift that can change the way people think about exercise, or even if we rename it as movement, because often it's just about adding in movement to our day. Yeah, and you'll know that I often talk about snacking on exercise, even just for 1 minute at a time, which of course is tying in with that other big barrier of, what do we do when we say we've got no time? What if we could do 1 minute here and there and see that as a gift in our day?
Yes.
So can you share some of the stories or examples of people that have used this or had that mindset shift?
Sure. Well, first I just want to say I love your the snack on exercise. We completely align with. I think that's a really beautiful analogy for this idea that everything counts. Let me see. Gosh, there's so many examples. Well, I've worked with a lot of people, and I think I'm just kind of having trouble recalling one of them. Well, no, I do have one. It's less about how much you do and more about the chore concept. And it's a story that I tell in the book about a gentleman who I was working with as a client. And I typically don't work with people who are also working with personal trainers because can often be a conflict, and my work is really about changing your mindset to change your behavior. And if you're already doing your behavior with someone else, it makes it more complex. So this guy came to our work, and he told me he had a personal trainer, and that at the end of their workout, she pushed him hard, and she made him run up this hill at the end. And he sounded like a victim. He sounded like he was being punished. And I said to him, well, it sounds to me like you're paying someone to punish you. And if that's what you choose to do, that's okay. But, there are other options. You could, for example, let your trainer know that you'd like to walk up the hill instead of run up it, because it sounds like you're exhausted and you don't enjoy it. So we left our session. Our sessions are weekly. He came back the next week, and, I was feeling all puffed up, sure that he was going to tell me that he had spoken to his trainer and let her know that he did not want to run up the hill, that he wanted to walk up. That was his preference. But that is not the story he told me. What he told me was that he had a realization that instead of running up the hill actually being punishment, that it was a privilege, that he had the physical ability to do it. And instead of feeling like it was being imposed on him, he decided he was choosing to give himself the privilege of working his body in this way. And it drastically changed his experience, and he kept going. So that's an example of how someone, through just changing the way they think about something, converted their experience from a chore to a gift.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know that one of the talks that you give, you often speak to people that are working in health promotion, trying to encourage people to be more active. And I've heard you say that actually what they should not be promoting is health, because health is not a very good hook, that at the end of the day, people aren't necessarily motivated by thinking about their health. So can you share for someone listening in, if they found that intriguing as I did, tell us a bit more about why you say that health promotion is not the message to promote.
Well, I didn't expect to believe that. When I was hypothesizing in my early research, I thought I had presumed that health was a great motive, that promoting health for exercise, for other things, that health was a great reason for people to adopt these lifestyle behaviors. But my research suggested, I looked at my findings and I thought, oh my gosh, it looks like the people who are exercising for health have as worse of a motivational profile as people who are exercising to lose weight. And that was that wasn't surprising, the weight loss part, because there are all kinds of reasons why if we exercise to lose weight, it's not going to be motivationally potent or stable for most people. But health? So, at first I was like a little disturbed because it seemed like a good thing. But the beautiful thing about research is it forces you to think more deeply about what you find and what you're trying to understand. And over time and doing more research and thinking more about it, the reason why health is not a great motivator for sustainability. Now, it's a great motivator if you want to get someone started. Tell them they're going to have a heart attack or they're pre-diabetes. It's a great motive to get people to start. The problem is why it's not a potent motivator for lifelong motivation for most people. Again, nothing's ever true for everyone. So for some people, I would say the minority of people, health-motivated exercise or other lifestyle changes probably does work. But it's because we're all busy people, and it kind of goes back to the cancer survivors. Sure, they care about their health. Sure, their health and staying disease-free is so important to them. But what's on their calendar today? And did they have a snow day yesterday and their kids stayed home like it did for me? And how that interferes with the things we have to do. What is relevant and compelling today is different than what is important and what we wish we could do in theory. So health is great in theory, but when you cut to the chase in daily life, it really doesn't make it relevant. The other thing I want to say that my research and anecdotally we found is that a lot of people who regularly exercise, they think, if you ask them, why are you exercising? They'll say, for my health, I want to prevent this from happening that happened to my parents. But if you drill down what you discover, and again, not true for everyone, but I'm finding this to be consistently true. When you drill down, you discover through asking them that it's not health that actually gets them to decide day in and day out to exercise. That's their reason for doing it. But their decisions to do it every day are because they feel bad when they don't, or they feel better when they do. So health is hiding these other more compelling reasons that society hasn't taught us we should be exercising for, but our minds know that we should be exercising for.
So if people are listening in and thinking, wow, I want to discover what's the motivation that I should adopt if I really want to sustain this long term, because this is what you're all about, this is what I'm all about, creating sustainable habit change so it does last a lifetime. Are there things that you recommend people do focus on in terms of their why or their motivation, other than health reasons, so that they can really keep this going?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the question I think that most people, might benefit from asking. And we haven't been taught to think about movement, and that's the perfect, transition from exercise to movement. We haven't been taught to think about movement as this mostly cheap or totally cheap and easy way we can boost our mood and lift our energy, as research shows, and even minutes amount of time research shows movement does. If we stopped thinking about exercise as a should and started thinking about it as really simple ways we can feel better immediately, and if we take a walk outside, it probably does double, it probably magnifies the effect. And New Zealand, I must say, is probably one of the most beautiful places to do outside walking. I've been there, loved being there.
Fabulous.
So I think what we need to do is stop, stop everything and go, okay, what do I believe about exercise? How long do I think it's supposed to be? How intense is it supposed to be? And whatever those rules are that you believe, whatever the beliefs you have, toss them out.
Wow.
Because there's no right way. In fact, everything counts. A new physical activity guideline came out in November a year ago, and it completely removed any requirement for any type of bout duration intensity. So we've been given the green light to do whatever we're going to do, whatever works for us. And that's part of the shift. It's not just about the why. It's also, well, I would like to feel better, but I don't have to do it in this rigorous long way. I can do it how it works. And again, it goes back to what you said earlier, that walking for 2 minutes to get something in your office, don't just do it. Go, oh, I just got 2 minutes of movement. OTMs.
Yes, so OTMs, opportunities to move, is that right? And I know you've
Yes.
got a beautiful graphic where you've got, like, if you imagine your day and it's like a pathway of your day, and there are all these beautiful little gifts with OTM on it. Opportunity to move, opportunity to move. Here you could drop the kids to school, make it a game, add little sprints in. Before dinner, you could have a little cleaning frenzy. In the afternoon, when you're feeling a bit sleepy, just have a little dance party to lift your mood up. And perhaps you already do have some structured exercise, let's say, in there, but actually all those little opportunities to move, or what I call snacks on exercise, all those little snacks, they actually build up and they make a big difference. And what I love most about what you just shared is that shifting the way that you think about exercise to let go of what we used to think of as the rules. I've got to do 30 minutes or it doesn't count, or I've got to do 3 sets of 10 repetitions, or any of those things, to just picture how could you move your body in a way that makes you feel good and see it as a gift and know the positive benefits you're going to get, not just for your health, not just for your physical fitness, but most of all for your mental well-being. Because we know the rates of depression and anxiety are on the rise globally. And I really see movement as being a real key to helping that. And like you said, if you get moving outdoors in sunlight, you're going to layer that with even more benefits. Yeah, fantastic.
Yes, and let me just add, as someone who lives in a climate where there's winter and snow, prematurely I might add, but there's just something about being outside, even in these, if you have gloves, make sure you have the right equipment, but just being outside and walking is such a gift, and we don't think about it as counting, but it does.
Yeah, I love it. And I think if that's one thing people take away today is to start picturing movement as a gift. And it's just a paradigm shift. Sometimes I talk about have an active attitude, or I often share the story that, you should take exercise off your should-do list, because so often we've got these things that are kind of on that list of should-dos, and we feel that, that they're like a chore, that I have to do that, and see it in a negative light. So take it off your should-do list and just make it an integrated, uplifting part of your life. So let's talk about self-care, because I know that you said that self-care is essential for regular exercise. So tell us more about that.
Well, that's the second pathway. One is the motivation pathway. The second pathway is really viewing your own self-care as a priority. The study participants way back when, they prioritized exercise when it was for our research, but when it came to it being for them, they stopped. So the second part of the pathway is this underlying concept of, okay, I'm motivated, I want to do it. Once we check that box, there's still this other really important box, which is my own health and well-being sufficiently valuable to prioritize and make time for it? Now, the notion of opportunities to move, OTMs, or exercise snacks, that decreases the requirements, but it still doesn't remove this underlying issue of, is it worth it? Is it, do I have enough time to take care of myself, to take those extra steps? And it may be easier to do, but we still have, but I could be doing those emails, or at least one email in the time. And I think so part of the second issue of self-care for sustainability is we have to really deeply understand that self-care isn't this optional thing. It's really this essential thing that it's not selfish, because when we take care of ourselves, we have more energy and enthusiasm, and that helps us do everything else better. So it really is in service of everyone else and everything in our contribution to the world to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it, because I talk to clients all the time about, what is it you think of when you think about taking time out just for you? And, 99% of people will say, well, I feel guilty and I feel selfish. And so if you've got that sort of tape playing in your mind that taking time out for me is selfish, you really need to hit eject on that and re-record over it with taking time for me is essential. Because if you don't actually fill up your own cup so that you're overflowing, so you've got more energy and love and passion to give out to everyone else, I actually believe that is selfish. And often I'll say, that's my tough love from me to you, for those that are listening. But it's a mindset flip that if you can think to yourself, actually, if I walk around being the grumpy, impatient, less than my best version of myself, then actually that's selfish. So I
Yes.
need to take this time for me. It is essential. And when I do that, it means that I have all of this energy and love to give out to everyone else, so everyone else benefits. So for me, that's been a real key mindset shift. And I've had so many clients that have said now they just have that in the back of their head. It is essential. And so they prioritize it, because we all have the same 24/7 every week.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
not having enough time is really the same as saying, I'm choosing this not to be that important. So I love what you're saying. We need to value our own selves and our own health and taking time for self-care. Yeah, I love it. You also mentioned that the research actually talks about self-compassion and that that's more motivating than negative self-judgment. So share that research with us.
Sure. Well, this research was really, it comes out of Kristen Neff, the self-compassion researcher's work. She's really, the pioneer of getting self-compassion into the academic research world. And as a society, again, a lot of things come back to this. We've been taught that, if we mess up, we mess up. If we don't get to our exercise session, or if we don't eat the way our exercise plan we were planning to do, we feel like failures. We hit ourselves, we do all these things, and we think, oh, that's how I'm going to be better next time. But really, the research shows that if we treat ourselves with self-compassion and understand that we're not perfect and that life happens, the research shows that type of attitude really cultivates higher quality and better motivation than the alternative of beating ourselves up. So that's really what that's about.
That's amazing. So Michelle, I just love everything that you've shared, and I think it's going to be really life-changing for people listening in. So if there is one more thing that you could add as a final tip for those that are listening on how they can get motivated, on how they can make this a part of their life and make it sustainable, what would you say?
I think I would say know that it's not your fault. That you may feel that you haven't been successful, whatever that means, but regardless of what it means, as a world, we've been handed a formula for these lifestyle behaviors that actually set us up to fail and not succeed. So I think people should let go of, oh my gosh, she's doing it, he's doing it, but I've just never been able to do it. They're the anomalies. The people who are successful are the anomalies and the outliers, and most everyone else are the people who are not, and it's because we've been given a formula that doesn't work. So I would tell people, know that it's not your fault, and give yourself an opportunity to rethink this and start with a new mindset.
Fantastic. And start, like you say, with that self-compassion, plugging in that self-care time, seeing exercise. I talk about seeing exercise as a joy and a gift, and fitting in those little opportunities to move. Wonderful. So if people wanted to find out more, Michelle, or to get a copy of your book, No Sweat, where can they head to for that?
Well, I have a website, which is my name, michellesegar.com. And on the website, I know, not being I don't know how easy it is to get outside the United States. I know in the UK people have access to it, but there's links on my website for No Sweat. And if they want more information about my research, I talk about some of my research there too. But thank you for the opportunity to share my work with you and your group. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. So make sure that if you're listening in, that you head over to thrivetvshow.com, and down below we'll put all of those links to Michelle's website and to access her book on Amazon or worldwide. I'm pretty sure that we should be able to access it, even here in New Zealand. I hope so. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Thrive TV Show. Go out and thrive.
Thank you for listening to the Thrive TV Show with Lauren Parsons. Visit thrivetvshow.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus content. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next inspiring episode.